me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So, sorry, I was nearly organised. I feel like I'm still not organised, but I am. So here we are, day 12 of this mushroom murder trial. And a dramatic day because a juror has actually been dismissed. We're going to look at that. Was right at the end of the day, though. There's other things that have come up in this on the trial today. Turns out that Erin had no death cap mushrooms whatsoever, apparently, in her tests in her body, whereas the other three or four, the four victims, they did. So, yeah. What about that? Anyway, that's what we're going to talk about today. Oh, I was supposed to put my banner on when I start and I forgot. No, I thought it was organised, but as usual, I'm not. The other thing is, don't forget to watch this video right to the end because I have actually been foraging for mushrooms, believe it or not. So there's a little video coming on at the end of this video where you will actually see Vicky Marie Chats, doing a bit of foraging for mushrooms and a few other things. Okay, so first of all, I just want to say thank you, of course. Thank you to all of you for watching, for caring about the three victims. We need the picture of the victims, don't we? Of course, here are the victims. Let me put it up on a bigger way while I just talk about them. Yeah, well, 4 victims, but 3 people who actually died from whatever happened that day at the lunch. This is the story of Erin Patterson, who supposedly, allegedly, has been charged with murdering 3 people and 1 attempted murder. And these people are Don here on the left-hand side, his wife Gail. And those 2 are the parents of Erin's estranged husband, Simon. So this is Erin's estranged husband, Simon. This is Erin. This is just a little catch-up for anyone who might not know. And here we have Don, Simon's father, Gail, his wife, and Simon's mum. Then we have Heather, who was Gail's sister, so was Simon's auntie, and Ian, her husband, and he is the only survivor. So for some reason, only known to her, allegedly to talk about some health problems she had, which turned out to be that she said she had cancer, but it turned out she didn't have cancer. Erin invited these 4 people for lunch one fateful Sunday afternoon, and especially Gail and Ian were delighted with this invite because they had never been invited to Erin's house before. Now, she also invited her husband, or her estranged husband, Simon, and he was going to go, but in the end he decided he wasn't going and he refused to go, said he wouldn't feel comfortable. But the other 4 people, they all went along and they were served individual beef Wellingtons on different plates from the one that Erin served herself, her portion of beef Wellington with mushroom sauce. And, you know, this was remarked upon, though they all said that it was delicious. Beef Wellington, mashed potato, vegetables. The other people that were invited to the lunch, they took the pudding along, which I think was like a fruit salad. All said it was delicious. And then very much later that day, because this was around 1 o'clock on the Sunday, it wasn't until that evening, late that evening, that they started displaying alarming symptoms. Vomiting, diarrhea, etc. All those symptoms that can be gastroenteritis, but also can be food poisoning. And then as time went on, these poor souls, these 3 people, took them a long time to die. You know, days. until in the end they went into a coma. Ian survived, but he went through hell, but he survived. Whereas Erin, the chef, the cook, the person that had made the beef Wellingtons, she just had, well, she said she had diarrhea. And she said she felt nauseous, but she discharged herself from hospital after 5 minutes, even though she'd been told that she may need a liver transplant. She was off home. She said she had things to sort out. Yes, she had to throw away a dehydrator. Anyway, it turns out, so without going into the whole thing that's happened so far, but Erin had been experimenting with a dehydrator. She had been putting powdered mushrooms, in her own admission, putting powdered mushrooms in everything, she said on a Facebook group. She said that she'd been even put it in her children's chocolate brownies, and you may wonder why. Why did she put it in her children's chocolate brownies? Anyway, she did. And that is her who admitted that. That is not speculation. That is actually Erin said in a Facebook group that she had done that. And then the other thing is her children, she gave them leftovers, she said, from the beef Wellingtons, but she scraped off the mushrooms. She was not concerned about her children's health at all. And it was only the hospital who said, look, your children need to go to be checked out. She didn't volunteer to go and take them to be checked out. And in the end, she reluctantly took them to be checked out. And they were fine, of course. She was fine. The children were fine. No evidence of death cap mushrooms in her system, or her children's, I suppose. So where did the death cap mushrooms come from? The test showed that the people that were affected were poisoned by death cap mushrooms. And this is them. Yesterday we had a lot of, an intensive discussion from a mushroom expert about death cap mushrooms, etc., and the difference between them and other mushrooms, and blah, de, blah, de, blah, de, blah, de, blah, which I'm still not sure what the purpose of that was for the defence. Now, actually, did I say that? I've forgotten now if I even said thank you to everyone, because I'm waffling. Somebody please put the waffle thing on. The waffle's beginning already. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's the most important thing I want to say before we get going properly. Thank you to everyone for watching, for liking, for subscribing. Special thanks to my members. Tonight is Members Live. I'm trying to decide what we're going to do tonight. I thought we might do something like just totally fun, or we might talk about a case. Anyway, you let me know, you members out there, you let me know what you prefer. I think sometimes you don't really care what I talk about, because you just enjoy talking to each other more than you enjoy listening to me. But listen to me waffle, of course. So, yeah, thank you to those of you who sent me a Ko-fi, those of you who've PayPal me, super stickered me, sent me a nice email, left a nice message. Thank you so much. Okay, so, yeah, now what I wanted to just talk about briefly before we get going, as far as this case is concerned. So there was some, shock yesterday where people were saying, because one of the mushroom experts yesterday, not Funky John, the other one, she said there was no evidence of death cap mushrooms, no visual evidence of death cap mushrooms in the leftovers that she examined, both at home and in the laboratory. And I just wanted to make a comment about that. Don't forget that lady, she only made a visual, they weren't tested to see if they were death cap mushrooms, but she made a visual assessment, and she said they were field mushrooms, normal mushrooms that you get in a supermarket, etc. But the other thing I just wanted to say, let's not forget that according to, if Erin is guilty, allegedly, The thing she'd been doing with mushrooms was dehydrating them, powdering them, and putting them in chocolate brownies. So you're not going to find big chunks of mushrooms like death cap mushrooms in the leftovers. What you're going to find, if anything, if there was any, I mean, I think she disposed of the sauce. Just don't forget the leftovers she gave her children. They had no sauce on them. She scraped off all the mushrooms. It was just meat in the pastry. So, I don't think that lady, that mushroom expert, will have been able to see death cap mushrooms, because if Erin put death cap mushrooms in those meals, it would have been powdered down and put in a sauce. Wouldn't have been chunks of death cap mushrooms. She didn't put, a great big death cap mushroom in there, or even a death cap mushroom cubed. She will have put dried powdered death cap mushrooms. And, they must have been in there somewhere, because these people tested positive for death cap mushrooms. And we're going to sort of see a bit more about that today in the evidence that comes out today. So, I don't think that was, even some news channels are making out as if that was a big thing. I don't think it was a big thing. She would not have put those death cap mushrooms. If she did, would not have put them in there, obviously. They were powdered, dehydrated, powdered, just like mushrooms were dehydrated and powdered and put in chocolate brownies. That was, in my opinion, I think that was her experiment to see if she could do it. Would anyone notice the taste? That's my opinion. And she found that they wouldn't, not even in chocolate brownies. Not death cap mushrooms, but wouldn't even notice, her children didn't even notice that she'd put mushrooms in chocolate brownies. Now, there is no reason on this God's earth to put mushrooms in chocolate brownies, except if you're experimenting for a reason, I think. So I'm not surprised the mushroom expert didn't see, chopped up death cap mushrooms. That wouldn't be the way that they were put into this meal. I mean, you don't know. They might have even been in the pastry. They might not have been in the sauce at all. If she was putting death cap mushrooms, mushrooms dehydrated and powdered in chocolate brownies, why not in the pastry? Didn't necessarily have to be in the sauce even. Could have been anywhere where she put them. So just, even maybe in something completely different, maybe in their drinks. We really don't know, do we? So the point is, not that these people, did they die of death cap mushrooms? They did. But how did they get these death cap mushrooms? So remember, Erin was saying she bought the mushrooms that she served up in that meal in an Asian supermarket. It's now been shown that there were no other poisonings around that time. Death cap mushrooms don't grow in China or anywhere in Asia. And, we've seen evidence of how they do grow in the oak trees near the oak trees round and about where Erin lived. We've also seen testimony that Erin dumped the dehydrator, took it to the dump, and the dehydrator had traces of death cap mushrooms in it. So there's been death cap mushrooms in that dehydrator. The question is, was it deliberate or was it accidental? Or did she just mean to make them sick rather than kill them? These are the questions. I don't think there's any question that Erin, that death cap mushrooms were in that dehydrator one way or another. Okay, so again, remember to watch this video to the end. I will be foraging for mushrooms right at the end of this video. The other thing I want to say is, hello lurkers. Thank you for watching. Come into the chat anytime you feel like you might be comfortable coming into the chat. We don't bite. What's the other thing I want to say? Oh yeah, hello replay crew. And now I'm going to say hello to those of you who are brave enough to come into the chat before we start looking at the events of day 12. So some quick hellos. Hi Joanne. Hi, sheep farming. Hi, Angel. Hi, Bluebell. Oh, thank you, Bluebell. Hi, Maria. Yep, it's a very interesting case. Yeah, lots of Australians in the house. Good day. I can't even do an Australian accent, you know what I mean? I won't even insult you by trying one. Hi, Yvonne. I'm just wondering, Bluebell, of course, you are British, aren't you? But have you now got a full-blown Australian accent? Yeah, Bluebell. Bluebell's going to England in August. That's the best time to go, isn't it? Hi. I said hello to Maria. Hi, Rini. Now, just talking about weather, I can see a couple of you talk. It's freezing here in Spain today. We had some nice weather today. Well, I say freezing, it's 16 degrees. No, see now, last week we were getting up to 30 degrees. Now, and apparently it's going to pour down today. We've got storm warnings. So I'm going to just, it's going to be, well, say a duvet day. Obviously, I'm not in bed. I'll be doing videos and things. I've got some classes later. But it's got like storm warnings again. For God's sake, we've had so much rain this year. Sorry, I'm just everyone's chatting in there. So everyone thinks you sound British still, Bluebell. Yeah. What I found because of course I'm from Manchester originally in the UK. I then lived in Reading for 8 years and I then came to Spain. So I don't think I've got a strong accent, but of course, anyone from the South knows my accent is not from the South. But I've lost a lot of my accent. And since I've been in Spain, I'm mixed with all different people from all different parts of England, all different parts of the world. But it's funny, when I go back to Manchester, to my roots, people know straight away. Like, it's like, oh my God, I was in a kebab shop one night, like you are, after going out for a drink. And then, of course, it's the law, isn't it, to go for a kebab after. I mean, you can't go for a drink and not get a kebab after. Good. Thank God for immigrants. Otherwise, we wouldn't have kebabs, wouldn't have curry houses, would we? And kebabs. So I was in this kebab shop, like after the pub shut, like people do. And this guy started talking to me. And I started talking back to him, obviously, like you do when you've had a drink. And he went, his mouth just literally dropped open. And he just went, oh my God, where are you from? I mean, he said it in a Mancunian accent. He had like the Mancunian Kevin and Perry accent. Can't do that now either. I could do it if I really thought about it. But, oh my God, where are you from? And I forgot, I forget I haven't got that Mancunian accent anymore like I used to have. So literally, I'm like a stranger wherever I go, because they don't recognize my accent as Mancunian. But I do find that once I've been in Manchester for a couple of weeks, it all comes back, because you can take the girl out of Manchester, but you can't take Manchester out of the girl. But it was funny because it was just the look on his face, like the surprise, because I didn't have. I think this was in Stockport somewhere, so you can't get much more Manchester than that. So anyway. Oh, I'm waffling. Come on, where's the waffle button? Waffle button, please. I'm waffling again. Sorry. If you're new to this channel, you have to get used to the waffle, I'm afraid. I do sometimes sort of edit the lives and just put out a video without the waffle, but a lot of people like my waffle, so that's the way it is. I felt like I had some more waffle. Oh, yeah, I wanted to show you. Sorry, I will get to the trial in a minute. So I've got my cranberry juice today in this mug. Now, this mug, number one son bought me this 10 years ago. I was thinking about it today. That's the only reason that because I thought, I'm going to drink out of that. And I thought, God, how long ago was it? So this is when he was living in Stockport. I think he got it from Poundland or somewhere like that. Now, it's actually, if I mirror my camera, you'll be able to see. Oh, I have mirrored my camera. Maybe if I don't mirror my camera. Oh, there you go. So you can see. So it's got flirt on it. Betty Boop. I mean, the reason you bought it is not because I'm a flirt. I'm not a flirt at all. Though, having said that, if I did flirt with you, you would know because, you know, I don't flirt with anyone. But when I do, you know. Yeah, flirt. Now, he didn't buy it because it said flirt. He bought it because it's got Betty Boop on it, and he knows that I really like Betty Boop. But I was just thinking about it. I thought, God, that's 10 years ago when he lived in the UK, and he bought me this mug. And it's actually got a lid on it. You can put your coffee in it and stuff, you know, so I love it. I absolutely love it. I have to hide it most of the time so it doesn't get broken, of course. Right, I'm going to go back to the other side now. So yeah, bit of waffle, but I love Betty Boop, I do. Right, no one's the waffle thing up, so I'm going to have it myself. Little bit of waffle there, as always. So we've got a members emoji for the waffle. Now then, let's get going with this trial. So just wanted to say that about yesterday, although that expert said she could not see death cap mushrooms, she wouldn't, because they'd be powdered and crushed into something. So that didn't surprise me at all. That, you know, I didn't think it was shocking at all, to be perfectly honest. But I know a lot of YouTube channels made a big thing of it, but I don't think it's that relevant, really. Of course you wouldn't see them. She wasn't going to, you know, just leave a death cap mushroom, you know, cap in there. I mean, the death cap mushrooms were definitely dehydrated, powdered. Whether she knew they were death cap mushrooms or not, whatever mushrooms she used, the dried ones, they were powdered, dried, powdered, dehydrated, and put in something in the sauce, probably, is my guess. But okay, so let's see what happened today. So it's quite a sort of dramatic day, you know, finalizing with a juror actually being dismissed. So apparently it started with delays as well. So the thing is, we never get to know, do we, why jurors are dismissed. Maybe after the trial we'll get to know, but during the trial all we get to know is a juror's been dismissed. So they've been dismissed, so another one will have, one of the jury bank, you know, that they'll have, one of them will have been drafted in. So I'm just looking for my, got a little poof here that I put my feet on when I know I'm going to be a little while on a video. So yeah, when they vote in the jury, they vote in some extra ones, don't they? They have a bank of spare jurors, just in case, because anything could happen. Jurors could get ill, or like in this case, something's obviously happened. Maybe the juror has done something inappropriate, and the judge has dismissed them, so they need to fill that place. So I don't know if that was the reason for the delays this morning. But anyway, apparently after nearly an hour of delays, we are now ready to begin today's proceedings with our first witness, Katrina Cripps. And Katrina Cripps is a child protection practitioner with the government. I'm sorry, I'm going the wrong way. So just before I get into her testimony, I just want to make sure you're all okay. Yeah. So she says she first met both of the Patterson children at Monash Children's Hospital on August the 1st following the lunch. Now, don't forget, Erin has 2 young children, very young children. They've, well, say very, you know, they're not even sort of late teen. One's a teenager now, and the other one I think is 9 now. But they were taken, she told them it was an adult's lunch. They couldn't come to the lunch, but she did serve them or leave them leftovers from the lunch. And they testified, didn't they, a couple of days ago, with their testimony, but it was a video testimony from, their interviews at the time. So she tells the court she also spoke with Erin Patterson for the first time that afternoon. And she says that Erin detailed her relationship with her estranged husband, Simon, and their custody arrangements. She says that Erin informed her that the children did not want to go to their father's home on the weekends. Oh, so she said that they didn't want to go. Anyway, earlier in the trial, Simon Patterson had told the court he and his wife separated in 2015 and remained on good terms for a number of years. But he said that the pair's relationship had later become strained and there was tension in it. And this is a bone of contention, isn't it? Because why the motive, even if you believe that Erin did it, and even if she's found guilty of doing it, why did she do it? She had money. She'd been left all this money by her grandmother. She had a nice house. She had her kids, good relationship with her ex-husband, to all intents and purposes. Why would she risk all that? But of course, she wouldn't have expected to be caught. Nobody ever expects to be caught, do they? And she obviously put a lot of planning into this. But, I honestly think, and again, this is just my opinion, Erin was just not as clever as she thought she was. Don't forget, she was in these true crime groups, and the people in the true crime groups described her as a super sleuth, said she was really intelligent and this, that, and the other. So she probably thought she could outsmart the police. It reminds me of an episode of sort of Midsummer Murders or an Agatha Christie novel. She obviously thought she was cleverer than everybody else and she could get away with it, allegedly. And she couldn't, and she wasn't, but I honestly think myself, my heart believes that that's what happened. She thought she could get away with it. But the only thing I'm not convinced of is whether she meant to kill them or if she just meant to make them ill. So he said in late 2022, now they keep making a big thing of this. Seems like this really upset Erin. Miss Patterson was upset because he had listed himself as separated on his tax return for the first time and the impact that may have on their tax arrangements. Could that really be the motive? Anyway, she described her estranged husband, and maybe he was, we don't know, as controlling and emotionally abusive. And Miss Cripps says that Erin said debate around child support payments, which has been raised earlier in the trial, created tension in her relationship with Simon. And she felt like that's the time he had become nasty towards her. So don't forget, Erin inherited 2 million Australian dollars from her grandma. And for all intents and purposes, she was really generous with that. She lent him money, she lent his family money. She just got aggrieved in the end. That she felt she'd been so generous with everything, and she wasn't sort of, in her view, it wasn't appreciated enough. That happens. Not everyone who does good deeds, they do it for a good reason. Sometimes people, I've had that happen in my life. People do you a good deed and you think, oh, thank God for that. They were there when you needed them. Oh my God, you have to suffer forever for it. They never stop reminding you of what they did for you. That is not real sort of altruism, is it? To do something for somebody and then never let them forget. Don't you forget that's what I did. So is that what happened with Simon? Was he not grateful enough? Maybe although she was generous, and I think it's undeniable, maybe she didn't feel that she was appreciated enough. So Miss Cripps tells the court that Erin called Don and Gail the parents she hadn't had, and she had loved them very much. And she went on to tell Miss Cripps that she felt like Simon had been isolating her from his family in recent times. And she said that Erin told her Simon was controlling and emotionally abusive. Well, do you know what? He may have been. We don't know if he was or not. But why would she take it out on his parents? Anyway, she told the child protection worker about the beef Wellington lunch. Prosecutor Sarah Lenthal asked Miss Cripps what Erin Patterson told her about the lunch on the 29th of July. She told her she had prepared a beef Wellington, mashed potato, green beans and packet gravy. See, she could have put this stuff in the gravy. Did she have gravy? I wonder. She said that she'd found it in a recipe tin, and that a recipe tin eats cookbook, and she wanted to do something new and special. And Miss Cripps said that Erin told her she had bought the mushrooms from Woolworths and an Asian grocer, this poor Asian grocer, whoever it is. No, so don't forget, she said she'd bought the dried mushrooms from an Asian grocer, but she didn't remember, not only she didn't remember which shop it was, she didn't even remember the suburb or the area where she had bought. She couldn't remember anything about the shop that she'd bought these dried mushrooms in. And she'd thrown away the packet. And it'd been quite a little while before that she'd bought them. What was the other thing she said? Yeah, she had no idea where it was. And she told Miss Cripps she had heard the combination of mushrooms would give the dish a nice flavour. So that's apparently why she bought those. Hi, Amethyst. Hi, Daniel. Sorry, I always worry that I might miss somebody. And so if I've missed you coming in, don't forget to say hello again, and I will definitely say hello back. So, yeah, what do you think? So the child protection worker was told that the Patterson children ate the lunch leftovers. And Miss Cripps says that Erin reported that her children had eaten leftovers the following day. And Erin claimed she had scraped the mushrooms off the dish for the children. I just don't believe that. I don't think the children had any, those left. Now, when she says leftovers, they were her leftovers, probably. Leftovers from the unpoisoned beef Wellington. Anyway, she also told the court about Erin's reported illness. She said she'd started to feel unwell that evening. She was experiencing loose bowel moments. I mean, we are getting too much information, aren't we, about bowel movements and diarrhea and things, but hey. Miss Cripps says when Erin later took her son to the shop, she did not want to get out of the car, and she preferred to remain seated to prevent incontinence. Miss Cripps says Erin said she had consented to have the meal leftovers collected from her bin. Listen, when Erin, right, this is my theory on what happened, and it is only my theory. When Erin discharged herself after 5 minutes at the hospital, that was because I bet she was shocked to hear the word death cap mushrooms mentioned. The words death cap mushrooms mentioned. She discharged herself and said she would go back later, didn't she? Well, she went home and tidied up all the leftovers. I think that's what she did. She went home to sort everything out, make sure there was nothing incriminating left. And whatever leftovers that hospital ended up getting back, there weren't anything to do with death cap mushrooms. She made sure of that. That's my opinion. So she consented to have the meal leftovers collected from her bin. Yeah, her meal leftovers. And Miss Lenthorpe then asked her if Erin had said how much of the meal she had eaten. She did not eat it all, Miss Cripps says. It's starting to make me think now, because if she dehydrated and powdered the mushrooms, they didn't have to even be in the beef Wellington. They could have been in the gravy, couldn't they? You get gravy granules, which seems like that's what you put in that powdered in their bit. You put in that powdered lethal mushroom concoction. Anyway, on August the 2nd, Miss Cripps said she spoke with Sally Ann Atkinson, a Department of Health official. Miss Atkinson told Miss Cripps she was having difficulty getting a hold of Erin and needed to speak with her to locate the Asian grocer where she had said she had bought the mushrooms. Erin's not answering her phone because she's too busy dumping the dehydrator and tidying up the leftovers. Miss Cripps said she was due to visit Erin's home for a pre-arranged visit and would ask her to return the department's calls. When she visited, Erin called the department back on speakerphone with Miss Cripps present for the call, and she said she saw Erin scrolling on her phone, attempting to trace the exact Asian grocery store she had bought the mushrooms, with Erin eventually saying she could not find any card transaction. So, yeah, that's the other thing. So they'll have, she's trying to worm her way out of this one. Most people pay by card nowadays, even for small transactions, don't they? It's unfortunately that's sort of what's happened, isn't it? We've talked about that before on this channel. We don't use cash like we used to. I very rarely, in my Spanish teaching job, I don't get paid in cash. Very rarely. Occasionally someone will come and pay me in cash, but most of it, obviously, they pay through the bank. That's just the way of the world now, isn't it? So if Erin was looking back on her, Erin was looking back on her phone to see if she could find the transaction where she bought the mushrooms, because of course there would be a card transaction, wouldn't there? An Asian supermarket, but she said she couldn't find it. She probably would have paid cash for a small transaction. But it won't have been that small, because those Chinese dried mushrooms, they're not cheap. They're bloody expensive. They're a delicacy. So, yeah, it's just all these things add up, don't they, to making you think she does tell porkies. Of course, the biggest porky that she told was telling everyone she had cancer when she actually didn't. So she told the worker she initially wanted to use mushrooms in a pasta dish. And Miss Cripps says that they discussed the dried bag of mushrooms. She said she had obtained from an Asian grocer. She said she was initially going to use the mushrooms in a carbonara around April, but when she opened them, they had a very strong smell. So she explained a beef Wellington would be more suitable to use the mushrooms in, and she felt they would not be the primary flavour. She says she rehydrated them and she mixed them up with the mushrooms she got from Woolworths. And then Miss Cripps asked Erin if she had picked the mushrooms, but says Erin did not answer and was instead looking at her phone. Oh, there you go. So that's conveniently deaf. When she's asked, did you pick the mushrooms? She just didn't hear her. Selective hearing, that seems like to me. She's just looking at her phone. Hi, David. Sorry, did I say hello to Maria earlier? I think I did. Hi, Maria. So, yeah, you know, we've all done that, haven't we? And we know people who've done that. Somebody asks you a question, you're thinking, oh, shit, while you're trying to think of the answer. Oh, I'm just looking at my phone, or, oh, did you hear that out there? Or did that happen? You know, that's quite a human thing to do, isn't it? When you'll give you time to think about what you're going to say. So she didn't answer. Then the court takes a break. So then the defence comes up to question Katrina Cripps. And Miss Stafford, Sophie Stafford, you know, she's sorry, I mean, that listening to her with that bloody mushroom quiz that she gave Funky Tony, I was going to say, Funky Tom. You know, it's just, what was that all about? It just seems like Mr. Mandy, Colin Mandy, who's the main defence lawyer, he's never there first thing, is he? He always seems to get there late. And Sophie has to stand up and do the question. And I think she just prevaricates until Colin gets there. So she runs through the chronology of Miss Cripps' account of events and has her confirm several points. She's just prevaricating. I'm surprised she didn't show her a load of mushrooms and get her to play Guess the Mushroom again. So the child support application, the Patterson's children's dislike of mushrooms, but acceptance of pastry, and the exact timing of Erin's reported diarrhea are again recapped. Yeah, Sophie does the recaps, doesn't she? So she's just there really to waste time until Colin Mandy gets there. So, Miss Cripps tells the court that Erin first found out that Simon's parents were unwell on the Monday following the lunch. So don't forget, it took a long time for them to get ill. It was a day, really. These mushrooms work slowly, not quickly. So 2 conversations between Erin and Simon on the Sunday and Monday following the lunch are raised by the defence. Sophie suggests to Miss Cripps that Simon did not tell Erin how sick his parents, aunt and uncle were on the Sunday. And Miss Cripps says, you can suggest it, but I'm certain that it happened. It's possible, but I'm certain that I remember this correctly. They're pretty rubbish, the defence team, to be fair, I think. Anyway, Miss Cripps' earlier testimony that Erin told her she had not eaten her entire meal is raised. And Miss Stafford says, can I suggest that here and now you're not very clear about what Erin said? And Miss Cripps replies about how much she ate. That's correct. After being pressed by the defence, Miss Cripps agrees that Erin communicated she had eaten some of the lunch. Miss Stafford rereads. Yeah, see, she's prevaricated, isn't she? Rereads Miss Cripps' testimony that Erin told her that each lunch guest helped themselves to the lunch. Well, that isn't true, is it? Well, they may have done. She put the plates out. It wasn't like a big tray of beef Wellington and you put it in the middle of the table and, you know, invite your guests to sort of, you know, serve themselves. They were plated. It was plated individually. And the guests had the grey plates, remember? And Erin had the orange plate. And that's according to the testimony of the actual people that were there eating the lunch, even the ones that are now deceased. Because they lived for quite a few days, we do have their testimony as well as the testimony of Ian Wilkinson, who survived. So they did not help themselves to the lunch. They all helped themselves to a plate, but the plates were already plated up with the beef Wellington. So the defence then raises the visit that Miss Cripps made to Erin Patterson's home. And Miss Cripps confirms that Erin had become upset when discussing that she would lose her support network. She then again confirms that when asked directly whether she picked the mushrooms for the lunch, Erin did not answer the question. So that's twice that Erin does not answer the question, did you pick the mushrooms? Then we jump forward. to a phone conversation Miss Cripps had with Erin on August the 4th. You asked Erin if she had heard any updates regarding how people were, and Erin told you that she hadn't been told anything and she was finding this distressing. Yes. At this time, Miss Cripps says she was aware that Heather Wilkinson had died, but did not inform Erin due to welfare concerns, and she says it was not my place to. Oh, bless poor Heather. Sorry. So twice she's been asked. Twice she's been asked, did you pick those mushrooms? And she's just ignored the question. Now, okay, you might not hear it once, but would you not hear it twice? She doesn't want to answer that question, does she? She doesn't want to answer it. It's not because she hasn't heard it. She don't want to answer it. Anyway, Miss Cripps confirms that during this visit, Erin had mentioned she was scared about security and privacy and was considering changing her phone number. And that concluded questions from the defence. Then the prosecution came back up to cross-examine the witness. They tried to bring the conversation back to how much Erin ate at the lunch, but there is an objection from the defence. Why would you object about that? Anyway, the jury and witness are led out as they discuss it. Where's the rest of it? Show more posts. So then they come back. So then they sent them out for an early lunch. Then they came back. When we left, Katrina Cripps, a child protection worker who spoke several times with Erin, was giving evidence, and the prosecution is back up now to complete their examination. Now, I don't really understand why they're concentrating on how much she ate, because it's known that Gail, Simon's mum, she only ate half the meal, and her husband, Don, he finished it off, didn't he? But even though Gail only ate half of hers, she still died. So I don't know what they're trying to prove here, I suppose. Are they going to try and say, the defence, that the reason Erin didn't really become ill was because she didn't eat it all? But Gail didn't eat it all, but she still died. So I don't think that argument is valid, is it? You know? Poor Gail only ate half of it and she still died. So how is that argument even valid? You know, don't really understand that. So the prosecution, an argument in today's proceedings has stemmed from how much beef Wellington Erin Patterson said she had eaten. The prosecution points towards notes made by Katrina Cripps' colleagues in hospital during her first interview with Erin Patterson, and asks Miss Cripps to read them to refresh her memory. And she then asks how much of the beef Wellington Erin Patterson said she had eaten. And Miss Cripps replies, half. Sorry, I'm just got to put some oil on my, don't even know. Half, Miss Cripps replies. She's then dismissed after that one-word answer and the next witness is called. So we've had a couple of mushroom experts, haven't we, on? Fungi experts. Now we're going to be hearing the testimony from the chief toxicologist. Oh my goodness. Dimitri Gerostamoulos is the next witness called to testify. He's the head of forensic science at the Victorian Institute of Forensic Medicine and is the state's chief toxicologist. He goes over his duties for the court and he tells the court he has consulted on hundreds of cases. So he says he is commonly asked to test for substances such as drugs and alcohol. However, when he is asked about death cap mushrooms, he says these toxins are unusual and not routinely tested for. He says these poisons are outside that routine investigation. He lists the toxins found in death cap mushrooms known as amatoxins. He says those toxins lead to necrosis, liver damage, and cell death. I mean, sounds awful, doesn't it? And the prosecution asks him how robust the toxins inside death cap mushrooms are. They are quite stable when these compounds are frozen, but also when they are subjected to heat, he says. He uses an example of toxins being heated while being prepared in a meal. Oh, and then Colin Mandy, who's finally arrived, jumps in for the defence and says he has a matter to raise, and the jury is then led out. So Colin Mandy doesn't want this guy to continue with his evidence. So when they come back, Dr. Gerostamalos, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I apologise to anyone I'm insulting by totally butchering this pronunciation. So he's asked the lethal dose of toxins, which he says is 0.1 milligrams per kilogram. It's not a lot, is it? So for a 70 kilogram adult, it's about 3 tablespoons. He tells the court this is based off animal studies rather than humans for obvious reasons. Oh, he tested it probably on animals. Anyway, let's not get into that. The prosecutions ask about what happens when these death cap toxins are ingested. And he says that at the outset, a poisoning victim will experience vomiting, diarrhea, and progressively get worse without treatment. He tells the court that the body is unable to process the toxin as it would a normal drug. And the prosecution asks him about a term known as, here we go, enterohepatic recirculation, where a toxin is continually reabsorbed in the body. And the court hears that the toxins do not have a long half-life and leaves the blood after a day, but the concentration in tissues and urine is higher and easier to detect. Dr. Gerostamalos says samples taken are matches against pure samples of the toxins. So the prosecution asked, sorry, I've just got a, the prosecution, one sec. So don't forget as well, though, to watch this to the end, because I have been foraging for mushrooms. So you're going to see a nice video of me foraging for mushrooms. Sorry, I just had to put it on mute a minute because the big dog's come down. Okay, you should be able to hear me now. Let's see. Oh, hello. So the prosecution asks the doctor how difficult it is to detect amantanins, and he says it can be done reliably. So we move on to the case at hand, and the court hears that Dr. Gerostamalos received several samples for death cap toxin testing. I'm going to call him the doctor from now on. Some of these samples were taken while the person was alive, while others were taken after the person had died. And the doctor says the most recently taken samples were tested immediately, as they served as the most reliable samples for the detection of toxins. Now, I think we're coming to a bit of the nitty-gritty here. because he's going to tell us now who tested positive and who didn't. And I think that's very important, isn't it? So he is asked about the tests conducted on samples of Donald Patterson's hair, blood, hair, stomach contents, liver and eye fluid. And the samples were taken both before and after his death and were tested for the death cap toxins, alpha amanitin and beta amanitin. And a table of toxicology results are then shown to the court. The doctor runs down the different sections of the results. And under a column for alpha amanitin and beta amanitin, the table shows that the toxins were found in Donald Patterson's urine. So Donald, he was the first one to die, I think, was he? Or was he the last one to die? But he's the one that ate a whole, his beef Wellington, and also half of his wives, didn't he? Gail left half, and he ate that as well. So it was not detected in blood samples or any of the post-mortem samples. And he says that the toxins are quickly eliminated from blood, and that if a sample is not taken within 24 to 30 hours, it's very unlikely that they will be detected, but it remains in the urine until the urine leaves the body. That's so interesting because, of course, Don had been in hospital, hadn't he? And he'd been in a coma, hadn't he? So, I don't know what they do with the urine. They'd have to put a catheter on him, would he, or whatever? Anyway, so they found that he was positive for this this toxin, but only in his urine and not in his blood. But he explained why that might be. So that's very interesting, isn't it? All right. Hello, everyone's putting. So apparently it's international. Oh, it was International Chihuahua Day. Yeah, we've got a Chihuahua. Well, the members have got a Chihuahua there. 3 cheers for all Chihuahuas. But not the Chihuahua on my street. No, that makes my dogs bark. No. Anyway, sorry. Right. I'm not going to waffle. So the doctor explained the disparity in results between ante-mortem and post-mortem samples, meaning the samples taken before Don's death and after his death. So he said the post-mortem specimens were collected on the 8th of August 2023, which is almost a week after the ante-mortem samples were collected. And he said that toxins were also not detected in hair for similar reasons. The next one to have her toxicology results shown is Gail, and no alpha amanitin or beta amanitin toxin was detected in any of the blood, serum or hair samples. So now don't forget, she only ate half, but no urine was collected from Gail Patterson. So, and then Heather's results showed no toxins either. Urine was collected from Heather Wilkinson, unlike from Gail Patterson, but no alpha amanitin or beta amanitin toxin was found in her samples. This is going to be a blow to the prosecution, isn't it? Or is it? So why was Don positive? Because they took his urine, of course, but they did take urine from Heather, but it was not found in her samples. Now, Ian Wilkinson's toxicology report results are shown, were based off a range of samples taken from him during his hospital stay. Oh, and with Ian, the court hears that the toxin beta-amanitin was found in his serum, and the sample of urine taken from Ian Wilkinson showed the presence of alpha-amanitin. So the men were positive. Their urine was positive. But the one lady whose urine was taken, Heather, it was negative. Do women urinate more often than men, maybe? I really don't know why that would be. Maybe they'll go into it now. And no death cap toxins were found in Erin Patterson's body. So a table, and they don't mean her dead body, of course, she's still alive. When I first saw that, I thought, Erin Patterson's body? Anyway, a table showing results from Erin Patterson's test is shown to the court, and no death cap mushroom toxins were found in her body. Samples were taken from both of Erin Patterson's children, and both children tested negative for the toxins found in death cap mushrooms. This is so interesting, isn't it? So you've got Don positive, Ian positive, or urine anyway, and serum with Ian. But the one lady, Heather, whose tests were done on, she was negative, and of course Erin and the children were negative. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Isn't it? Yeah. Okay. So then there was a break, and then they come back from the break, and Victoria's chief toxicologist, Dimitri, is still, who I can't pronounce his surname, is still in the witness box. And the prosecution shifts the topic to the leftovers from the lunch. He says he received the gravy, the fruit platter, and vegetable matter on August the 29th for analysis for toxins. And the prosecution details testimony from the mycologist Camille Truong, who we heard from yesterday. So don't forget, she was the one that told the court that the microscopic analysis, so don't forget that's only the visual analysis, showed no death cap mushrooms. And the doctor says, Dr. Gerostamoulos says the only real way of identifying poisons put in food is analytically through a laboratory. And he tells the court the lab works in identifying the toxins rather than the type of mushrooms. And he says that even if the mushrooms were liquefied or turned into a powder, the toxins would be detectable. Well, that's just what I was saying, isn't it, at the beginning? She's not, presuming she did do it, she's not going to just put big chunks of death cap mushrooms in there. It was dehydrated, powdered, liquidized, probably in the gravy rather than anywhere else. Anyway, how to test for death cap toxins. He details to the court the process of testing for toxins in the leftover food. He says a solvent such as methanol is added to the leftover food in an effort to remove any toxins present. The solvent mixture is then left for up to 3 hours. Then the liquid is concentrated and measured with a highly sensitive instrument. And the court is shown pictures of the month-old food samples undertaken by the Victorian Institute of Forensic Medicine Lab. Prosecutor Sarah Lenthal says there will be 17 photos tendered as part of this exhibit. The first photo is the food samples inside blue plastic bags, which are each said to contain 2 pastry parcels. The second photo is the samples themselves. They show crusted pastry and some brown filling. And the third photo shows small sample containers with small pieces of pastry and chopped mushrooms inside. and it was detected in the leftovers. So Dr. Gerostamoulos says in one sample of mushroom paste, death cap toxin beta-amanitin was detected, and beta-amanitin was also detected in one sample of meat. And a jug with brown liquid appearing to be gravy tested negative for toxins. So it wasn't in the gravy, it was in the mushroom paste. I wonder why she volunteered up those leftovers. Did she think it couldn't be traced? Anyway, we've been waiting for the smoking gun. That's a bit of a smoking gun, really, isn't it? You know, they were detected in the leftovers. I think they were also in the dehydrator. So this is a smoking gun. Well, I say it's a smoking gun. This proves that the death cap mushrooms, you know, that's why they died. Of course, it doesn't prove that they were put there deliberately. That's the next thing, isn't it? Samples of vegetable matter from the dehydrator dumped by Erin Patterson were then tested. And the doctor says several samples from the dehydrator tested positive for both alpha and beta amanitin. Now, there you go. You know, that is there you've got the smoking gun as far as the fact of what they died of is concerned. You know, it's like, you know, just glad in it, if you like, in a way that there's some conclusive proof, because I must admit, you know, well, I've said it as we've been going through it, you know, we've been waiting for the smoking gun, we've been waiting for the evidence, and then of course yesterday when that the fungi expert said, oh no, she didn't see any evidence of death cap mushrooms, but really she was only looking, that wasn't test, that was only visual tests. And what she did not see, what basically, look, this is what a death cap mushroom looks like. She didn't see any of them, you know, nothing like that in there, or even chopped up. But she, you know, now we're actually on the toxicology reports, and they're there, you know, they're there. And so she's not as clever as she thinks she is, Erin. Now, what's going to happen now is, I think, surely it's been established, unless the defence are going to come up and, you know, try and challenge the toxicology expert, like they did with Funky Tom, you know, giving him a quiz on mushrooms, like, what's this mushroom? What's that mushroom? Are they going to try and discredit this doctor, I wonder? You know, are they? Yeah. So that's it. The prosecution finishes its questioning. The defence says there's not enough time left in the day for it to make a start. You know, Colin Mandy has to get off to wherever he's going. He turns up late, he goes home early. And Justice Beale adjourns the court for the day, and we'll hear more from Dr. Gerostamoulos tomorrow. That's where we finish. So let's have a little recap. So we heard from two witnesses, Katrina Cripps, who was the child protection officer. She spoke with Erin Patterson in the days following the lunch, travelling to a Leongatha home where the deadly lunch was served. And the other witness was Dimitri Gerostamoulos. He was responsible for testing the lunch guests and the food they ate for traces of deadly death cap mushroom toxins. And here's what we learned. So Katrina told the court that Erin reported eating half of her serving. Erin told Miss Cripps she feared for her privacy after the lunch and was considering changing her phone number. And Miss Cripps also told the court that Erin said the recipe for beef Wellington came from a Recipe Tin Eats cookbook. I bet it didn't have death cap mushrooms in it. Donald Patterson and Ian Wilkinson tested positive for death cap toxins with alpha and beta amanitin found in their urine samples. Heather and Gail tested negative for toxins. Erin and her 2 children all tested negative, and both leftover residue from Erin Patterson's dehydrator and mushroom paste leftovers from the lunch tested positive for death cap mushroom toxins. So there you go. That is this what Erin's going to say? That, yeah, well, but it's all going to come down to where she got the mushrooms from, isn't it? You know, was it this Asian supermarket? She doesn't have a credit card evidence of buying. She says she must have paid in cash. She can't remember which Asian supermarket it was. She can't remember what area it was in. Nobody else was reported as being ill. These death cap mushrooms don't grow in Asia anyway. You know, so... Well, David, my opinion hasn't changed right from the beginning, because I know it sounds awful, but I always do think that once it even comes to trial, guilty is the likely explanation, just for the simple reason for the police, wherever, whichever country they're in, to manage to get a case to trial, they've had to, you know, they haven't just taken, you know, can't just take anyone to trial, can you, and say, oh, we think you did it. They've got to run it through the DA. If you're in America, it's, is it the DA? They've got to run it through. In Britain, it's the Crown Prosecution Service. Don't know who it is in Australia. It's probably similar to the British model. You know, so to even get to court, there's got to be enough evidence in a way to secure a prosecution. They then have got to present that in a way that they can persuade a jury, you know. So they've already persuaded whoever their prosecution agency is in their country. What they've then got to do is persuade a jury. So I'm always leaning more in the sense of guilty when the trial starts than not guilty, because I do feel that just to get a case to trial, there's got to be enough evidence to prosecute. And then, of course, you have to sit and watch the evidence, and then it depends what the defence do with it. You know, sometimes defence lawyers are really good and they manage to challenge that evidence that the prosecutors thought was sufficient. I don't think that's the case here. I don't think the defence has done anything at all that has made me change my mind, and I'm sure you'll all give me your opinions on it as well. Have the defence said anything at all? So what we've watched every day, we're on day 12. We've watched every day, we've heard everything that's been said. Is there anything that the defence has said that has made us think, oh no, she didn't do it? I don't think they've presented anything, have they? And I know it's not up to the defence. It's up to the prosecution to prove that they did it. It's not up to the defendant is innocent till proven guilty. I know that, but I don't think the defence, you know, I think the prosecution, put it this way, has made a much better job than the defence so far. And today I think has been quite crucial because, you know, yeah, there was maybe the first week, 2 weeks as they were laying the groundwork. It was like, well, you know, where's the evidence? Where's the smoking gun? Now I think we've got the smoking gun because they, you know, Ian and Don tested positive. How have they tested positive for toxins? You know, where's that come from? That just doesn't get in your urine for nothing. Now, the ladies didn't, or at least one of them whose urine was tested, did not test positive. So you could say that casts a little doubt. But she only ate half of the meal, didn't she? And her husband finished it off. And then, oh no, that was the one whose urine wasn't even tested. So, you know, I just feel that my initial sort of instinct that she probably is guilty, because otherwise she would never have been brought to trial. I think there's a 95% that somebody is guilty if they get brought to trial. In my eyes, there's always another 5%. There might not be, and there are miscarriages of justice occasionally. But yeah, there's many things with Erin. There's the lying about having cancer. There's the throwing away the dehydrator. Inviting two people to lunch who she'd never invited to lunch before. The only problem I have with it, and I'm sure we're all the same, is why did she do it? I don't get it. But, people don't always need a reason. Some people just do mad things for absolutely no reason. I don't understand why she did it, because it seems like she had a comfortable life. She's got money, she's got her kids, she's got a nice house, she's got a half-decent relationship with her ex-husband. I don't understand why she did it, but I do think she did it. And I think, let's not forget that Erin was really into true crime. So I think that Erin, the super sleuth, I think she thought she could get away with it. I really do think she did think that, that she thought she could do it. Now, I'm not 100% certain that she intended to kill them. That would, if I was her defence team now, I'd be saying to her, look, the evidence is overwhelming. It's obvious you did it, but what we've got to prove is either it went in there by accident or you didn't mean to kill them. For whatever reason, you just meant to give them a scare, make them feel ill. I don't know. It's like payback. And like somebody was saying earlier in the chat, she tried to kill him before, but they dropped those charges, haven't they? I think why the prosecution dropped the charges against Erin for attempting to murder her husband before, because he'd been ill before after eating with Erin, and it's thought that she had tried to kill him before. Don't forget, she did invite him to this lunch trial. No wonder he didn't go. But I think the reason they dropped those charges is they didn't want them affected. They thought they had enough evidence for these charges, for killing these 3 people and severely, making Ian very ill, attempted to kill him. They thought they had enough there. So there's no they can always bring those charges against for attempted murder against Ian. They can bring those later. They wanted to concentrate in this case on these charges, and I don't blame them, because this is, one day, one specific day where it happened, whereas it gets complicated then. And I think as well, to persuade a jury, because the prosecution's job is to prosecute, and the prosecution's job is to secure a conviction. And I think the easiest way to do that is to make it less complicated for the jury, because the jury, they're just normal people, aren't they? They're just people from they don't know legal things, and they can get bamboozled by too much information. So if you sat there and not only you're trying to prosecute for these people, for the murder of these 3 people and Ian, who survived, and then you bring in the attempted murder of Simon, etc. It's too much information, isn't it? But I'm sure that if Erin is found guilty, or even if she's not found guilty, though that case against for attempting to kill Simon is, it's not gone forever. It's been dropped for now. But I do think it's going to happen. Yeah, it's a funny situation, Joanne, because if it was, I don't think it was because her husband wasn't coming back, because to all intents and purposes, he wanted to come back. It was her who didn't want to resume the relationship. I think it's rooted in this when he said he was separated on that tax form. I think Erin likes control. So Erin, she got all this money, inherited all this money. She was generous with it. You know, as I say, I've seen this kind of thing happen before with people I've known. And then she's like Lady Bountiful. Oh yeah, I'll give you that money towards buying the house, or I'll help you with that. But you've got to show your due gratification, because if you don't show your due gratification, then they get pissed off. Then it's like, oh, hang on, I don't think they're being appreciative enough. You know, it's like Indian giving we've talked about before, and it's an unfortunate expression in today's world, but it's an old expression. Indian givers give something with one hand and they take it back with another. I've seen it a million times. Oh yeah, I'll help you. Oh yeah, take that. I'll help you. You pay me back when you can. And then it's like, well, you know, why aren't you I helped you. Why aren't you doing this for me? You know, and then they want blood for it. They want blood for it. See, I don't get that. To me, you help someone if you can. You can't always help. You know, sometimes you'd love to help someone. I'd love to be in a position where I could help more people. You know, I'm not in that position financially, but some people are. You know, but when they do it, they shouldn't be sort of throwing it in people's faces. Like, oh yeah, look, I helped you with that. You know, what are you going to do for me? Or does that mean you've got to be their friend forever because... and you've got to put up with anything they do because they've helped you once? You know, I don't understand that. When you give help, and I'm talking about help, I don't mean giving people money, you know, forever. They have to pay it back, of course. But still, even then, it's like, oh, well, I did. Oh, God, they never forget, do they? You know, if you want to help someone, help them. And if you don't, but don't help people and then throw it back in their face, because it, apart from anything, it makes them feel like shit. So, you know, and sometimes people accept help from people because they have no choice. It's not that they want to take off someone, it's because they have no choice. And if you'd ever been in that position, you would understand that. But I think some people don't understand that. And that's what I think's happened with Erin. I think she's helped everybody, which is lovely, but then she's felt like she's owed something more even than what she's done. It's like, you know, oh, it's a very strange thing. And that's what I think's behind it. It's like, you don't appreciate me enough. You put yourself down as separated, but you never asked my permission to do it. Because then they think they own you as well. Everything that you do after that, they own you for it because they helped you once. And I think that's it with Erin. I think that's exactly it. She liked to be the kingpin of everything, and maybe her ex-partner Simon maybe started doing things without her. Maybe he is a horrible person. I don't know. She says he was controlling and this, that, and the other. Well, maybe he was, but we don't know that, do we? So, you know, we don't know him and we don't know their relationship intimately. So only she knows the truth of that, and he knows the truth of it, and people who know them. Maybe he was controlling. But she's definitely done it out of some sort of spite, in my opinion. But not because she wants him back, because she could have had him back. It's like she just wants the control. Some people just want the control. Don't want that. I've seen that a million times with friends. They're not friends anymore. People who had left their partners, told their partners, oh no, don't want you anymore, or never said anything good about them. And then when their partner starts moving on, they're right in there. Oh no, but I didn't want you to move away from me. You know, I decide. You know, don't want you to have anybody else. I want you to be with me when I want it, but I don't want you to have a life with anybody else because I'm in control. I dictate what happens. This is what some people like to do, men and women. That's what they like to do. They like to wield the power. Oh, she ended the marriage, Joanne. She ended the marriage. Wasn't him, it was her. She wanted to split up. You know, he didn't go to the lunch probably because he thought she would poison him. I don't know. She tried to poison him a couple of times before, but I don't know. Exactly, Angel. You know, if somebody wants to help you by lending you money, then, you know, they should just appreciate you just needed it at that time. Nobody wants to lend money or you know, everybody would rather be independent, but sometimes you just don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. And unfortunately, some people out there, they think that just because they've lent you some money, that means they own you or whatever, or owns, you know, that to me is not genuine altruism. And that's what I think Erin is. I think she's, you know, oh yeah, I'll lend you that money, I'll do this. And then afterwards it's like, oh, well, you're not appreciating me enough. Okay. So it's good to try and be independent, but sometimes you can't be. You know, sometimes things happen. It's happened to me, you know, in my life various times. Sometimes life just becomes overwhelming and you do need help. But now I try not to sort of ask for help, because once you ask for help, you do make yourself vulnerable. I prefer helping other people. I wish, you know, I feel like, God, if I was Elon Musk, I wouldn't be sending rockets up to the moon that, you know, just total waste of money and being an absolute twonk. I'd try and help people who really needed it. Hey, Claire. Actually, Claire, you're just here at the right time. So we've listened to everything that's happening, that happened on trial day 12. We've been through it. We've looked at a little summary of it. And now what we're going to do, and Claire will appreciate this. So we're going to look at a little video now of Vicky Marie going foraging for mushrooms. Are you ready for this? Actually, there's a mixture of different things. So it's Vicky Marie chats, foraging for mushrooms, sitting up on the roof terrace, sitting in the garden, and hanging out with cats. Let's have a look. I hope you enjoy it. So thank you, Claire, because that's Claire that sent me the photos and I've put them together in a video. And it's so good. That's the only way you'll see me foraging for mushrooms. Let's put it that way. I might, next time I'm out in the campo with the dogs, I might take some photos. If I see any mushrooms, I would definitely take some photos, but I won't be bringing any home to eat. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm going to show it again in a minute. But in that bit where there was like a video of the mushrooms, there were insects all over them. This is why I was like, why would you go out foraging for mushrooms? And then someone left me a very nice comment. They might be watching now. They're saying that when they grew up in Poland, it's a big thing that they do in Poland, apparently, go foraging for mushrooms. It's like a family thing that they do, and they take them home and eat them. But they obviously know a bit about the mushrooms that they're collecting. I don't know I don't think they do it in Spain. I honestly don't. I'll tell you something they do in Spain is they go out collecting snails, because there's a time of the year when there's a lot of snails, and snails is a big thing in Spain, caracoles. So, and people go out and pick them. And I don't know if you've ever had snails. I've had them once. They were all right. Thing is, snails don't have a taste in themselves, really. They just taste like cockles or something. But what makes them, it's the sauce that they're in. You put anything in a garlic sauce or a tomatoey, garlicky, herby sauce, it's going to taste nice, isn't it? And the only reason I ended up having caracoles one night, because one of my sisters was here for a holiday and we went to a Spanish restaurant. I said, I want to eat something typically Spanish, just something typically Spanish. And she's looking on the menu. She goes, I'm going to have snails. And I said, you won't like them. So this sister of mine, she's one of those people that whenever you go to a restaurant, whatever you order, she'll say, I wish I would have ordered that, and want to sort of have some of yours. And I don't share food. So it's like, I'm like Joey off Friends. It's like, no, you order what you want. I'll order what I want. I don't share food. That's just the way I am. So anyway, we were in this Spanish restaurant. I'm waffling. Put me the waffle emoji again, because I'm waffling. I'm going to have a little waffle. So I said to you won't like them. You won't like those snails. I will. I definitely will like them. So, of course, out the cage goes, don't like them. So we ended up swapping starters, and I had the snails just because, you can't send things back when someone's ordered snails and then they just don't like the look of them. When everyone knows what snails look like. Anyway, they were all right because they were in a nice sauce, but I've never had them again. I mean, this was probably 15 years ago. I won't be having them again. But Spanish people do go out. There's a time of the year when these snails are everywhere in the campo, and they go out and collect them. And I suppose they go home and cook with them. So I forgot why I started saying that in the first place. So yeah, if I'm ever out in the campo and I see any mushrooms or anything, I will take some photos of them, but I won't be bringing them home to cook them. Let's just have another look at the, yeah, isn't it annoying? Just order what you want. Don't ask me for what I want. And I have done that. I've done that with a couple of friends, actually, that I think somebody said, yeah, I'll order the same. Or the other thing that I do, I wait and see what they order before I decide what I order, because with certain people, you just know they're going to want what you have. So I make sure I order something that they wouldn't dream of having. So then they're not going to say to me, can I just have a little bit of that? I know it's horrible, but do you know what? We're all different. You just have to accept it. Some people don't like sharing food. Some people love sharing food. I don't. So I don't want your food. I don't want their, I don't want a bit of anybody else's. Just want whatever I order. Thank you. Okay, let's have one more look at that video, because I love it. I do love it. So now, just thank you, Bluebell, for reminding me. I never even mentioned the juror that had been dismissed. So let's have a look at the juror that's been dismissed. What's happened? Now, we won't know why. I would imagine we won't. Well, we'll see. Let's have a look. Yeah, we never even got around to that.
Victoria's chief toxicologist has told the triple murder trial his testing revealed traces of death cap mushroom toxins in food samples taken from a bin at Erin Patterson's home. Dimitri Gerastimoulis says he received the samples for analysis a month after.
Oh, here's Dimitri. It's nice to see pictures of them as well as just read about them. So this is the toxicology expert.
After the lunch, telling the court he found toxins in both the meat and mushroom paste. The toxins were also detected in vegetable matter taken from the dehydrator Erin Patterson dumped at a local refuse station. Dr. Gerastimoulis told the court how much death cap mushroom matter would...
Oh God, is that death cap mushrooms in the wild? I mean, they do look edible. You know, if you saw them, you think, oh, that's a nice looking mushroom.
Constitute a lethal dose, saying it was 0.1 milligrams of mushrooms per kilogram, or about 3 tablespoons for a 70-kilo adult. Earlier in the day, a child protection officer told the court she had several conversations with Erin Patterson in the days after the lunch. Katrina Cripps saying Ms. Patterson...
Oh, and there's the child protection officer. Yeah, going back to the video, Claire sent me all the photos. She sent me all the photos of Vicky Marie chats with the mushrooms, etc., and I put it into a video, and put the music on. But I love it.
And complained that her estranged husband, Simon Patterson, had recently become nasty towards her. He was at times controlling and emotionally abusive, and that he would say things to her that would make her question herself as a mother. Ms. Cripps said Ms. Patterson described Don and Gail Patterson as the parents she never had, and feared her ex-husband was trying to isolate her from the rest of the family. The court heard Erin Patterson told Ms. Cripps she had been trying to reconnect and decided on the beef Wellington from the Recipe Tin Eats cookbook because she wanted to do something new and special. The trial resumes tomorrow, but minus one juror who was discharged this morning by Justice Christopher Beale amid reports he'd discussed the case with family and friends. Sasha Payne, ABC News, Morwell.
That's all we know about that juror. You know, people will go on there and say they know more. They don't. We won't get to know anymore. The juror's been dismissed, as this lady said, allegedly because of discussing the case with family and friends. And they're not allowed to do that, are they? So I think, yeah. That's why the juror's been dismissed. But anyway, the case is continuing. The trial is continuing. And there'll be a new juror then to replace that juror tomorrow. So, yeah. Oh, and going back to that video, look at that. Did you see those cats? So there's the little black and white cat and the Siamese cat. What did he call it? A Ragamese. Yeah, I don't know. I love cats. I can't have cats. Because of the German Shepherd, and she would eat any cat we had in this house. But I just love them. So it's lovely. Claire sends me pictures of her cats. She's got 2 cats. Just give us what their name is. It Rafa or Rafi? And I can't remember the name of the other one. But yeah, it's lovely to see cats because I love cats. All right, I remember you there. And just so that we don't forget that she's there, that's Princess Tia reminding us that she's there. But yeah, I love cats, but I can't have any, so it's lovely to see them on pictures. And it is a beautiful cat. Thank you, Joanne. Rafi and Bunny, that's it, Bunny, yeah. And Rafi is the Ragamese, or whatever they're called, Ragamese. And Bunny is the black and white cat. So yeah, lovely. So yeah, that's what I've been doing yesterday. I've been foraging for mushrooms, sitting on the sun terrace, sitting in the garden, hanging out with cats, beautiful cats. Yeah, I think it's the word cat. Yeah. Yeah, and unfortunately Claire's black cat didn't come back. Now, you know, this is, I don't know, even if, you know, when the day comes that I don't have to worry about Princess Tea, I don't know if I'll have more cats, because as much as I love them, I couldn't let them out. I've lost so many cats over the years. It's heartbreaking, isn't it? It's heartbreaking any animal that you lose. But cats, you know, because they're so independent, if you let them out, you know, they disappear or they get run over or things happen. And I don't think I could face all that again. So I probably will not have any more cats. But if I did have a cat, it would be a house cat. So, okay, so I'm going now. So that is day 12. Oof, it's quite an eventful day, wasn't it? Quite a lot of information came out there. I do feel that now we have got a smoking gun. You know, these people were poisoned with death cap mushrooms and they were in the dehydrator. How did they get there? This is the next thing that has to be proven, isn't it? So we're in week 3. There's still another 3 weeks forecast for this trial, though the judge had said that it probably won't go that far, but we don't know. So, yeah. Okay, so I'll see you really soon in the next video. I'm going to put my normal exit video on. Oh, and of course tonight is members. Hello, baby. Let's see. Are you going to... Oh, there she is. There's that beautiful girl. Yeah, she's so beautiful. Oh, look how white she is round her nose now. She's getting old now. Yeah, see you really soon in the next video, and until then, oh, so sorry, see you tonight in the members, and if not, I'll see you tomorrow, and oh, may your God go with you. Bye. Let me put my normal video. Bye.